Okay, now we're going to go over a case of pre and post default network training. Uh, this individual had a lot of obsessive elements, some attention problems, and maybe some anxiety as well. Um, Multiple issues. Okay, and the initials are dash. Okay, so we're going to start with looking at the sampling system, and we want to get this alpha peak, this bell-shaped curve. Here's what we like to see. That means during the eyes closed condition, you're able to marshal all your cells to fire together. Your system will act as one versus being distributed and not acting as one. And we would like to get in around 10 and a quarter is our speed rate that we want, because that's how many frames per second the average adult processes the world. If we undersample something, we can get the wrong story. We get a different story than what everyone else has. That's why we want to be at the same rate. Just like we want to, it's usually more efficient to drive, to synchronize with the cars around you on the highway, to drive their speed than to drive some absolute fast or slow speed, because then you're constantly dealing with the cars around you. If you can synchronize with others, you're going to be more efficient. And that's why we want to get 10 and a quarter. But more important, it's actually consistency across the brain. It's that they are firing and the information is being transferred at the same rate. So this is the data. Looking at 19 regions of the head. Left is on the left, right's on the right, except for the midline. And the PDNT is the red, and we don't want this delta. You can see the delta's there. That's the amount of a proportion of the energy is reflecting how much of the time you're letting yourself walk around the world, really not taking in all the sensory information in your head into expectation. The alpha peak, the more energy in the alpha peak, the more you're letting in the world. This is the sampling system is dominating, and you can see this is already was pretty good. Right prior, I had a little extra delta. That's what we wanted, and you can see all that improvement in delta. Still things going on, some competition in the singlet. That's emotional regulation here. Decision making, some of the top, much better. There was more competition there. Think of it like reptile versus mammal, group minded versus relational thinker, thinking about oneself. When you see the peak below 7, above it's the group minded one, and you can see that improvement. Back of the head is visual processing. Here's attention, memory, processing words. Okay, I just pulled one out, the right auditory, because this individual went through a lot of neurofeedback, different forums. We had eventually 5 maps on them, so you can see that delta just dropping and the alpha peaking. And the reason why, literally the alpha peak already hit the best by the 3rd brain map. There are other issues to deal with. The sensory system is more the minor player in most people. The major player is the response system, which we'll get to. Okay, so we take the sensory system, and now we're going to compare them to the healthy group, and that converts our raw data over to the statistical data. And we don't want excess, and we don't want deficit. We don't want deep blue, we don't want pink. You can see there's the excess pink in the excessive delta in the beginning, and now it's all normalized. Deficit in alpha, reasonably normalized. Gamma still could do a little bit more normalizing this range, but it's very good. And think of the hertz as like years. They correspond to years in the way where the early frequencies, the slower frequencies are our foundation. So think of having a building that the foundation has tantrums a lot. It shuffles around a lot. It's not stable. So the upper floors definitely will not be that stable. So that's the tantrum brain. I like to say 2-year-old mind, 3-year-old mind, 4-year-old mind coming in. Too much, excessively so. All right, this is over the various brain maps. There were some other therapies being done, especially this one for number 4, I remember that time period. But you can see general progression. We're getting more alpha. There was some changes here, but we're generally getting much more alpha than we did in the beginning, and especially in the decision-making areas, emotional regulation. This is looking at the left versus right hemisphere differences. This person has a much more a career that requires them to be more right-brained. If you're in the arts, you want to be more right-brained, and you can see start off with a balance, and now getting more right-brained. A little bit too much here. We also want to get heights. We want height and a little body asymmetry. Too much asymmetry may do well, but maybe also cause some personal problems. But in height means you're able to take more cells and fire together. This is actually, this is the rate, the speed. This is closer to getting to that consensual speed. The height here is the rate, frame rate. I thought it was magnitude. That's the frame rate. Okay. Okay, so we would like to get more activity. I'm going to look over here at the blue one down here. We want to get that frame rate approaching the norm. The healthy norm here is up here. It's going up. But more importantly, is all the systems firing similarly? Because think of it like your brain is an assembly line, and if if 2 or 3 elements are too slow or too fast, you're not going to have as strong and as rich your percepts as you possibly can. Well, you can see the slowness here, the slower peaks here, and I just chose the left hemisphere because if I show all 19 electrocytes, it's going to be chaos, just a bunch of lines. You can see the amplitude, just obvious how much better this is between the pre and the post, and the consistency much better. Peaking there at the 9, there's a 10, very close. That's the optimum. We would like this to probably go the other direction, but this is very good. By other direction, I meant we would like the 10 to be the peak and 9 to be a little bit lower, but that's all. Very good. Okay, so we do what's called the two-story house model, which is that we are born and the first floor is ready for us to a large degree. It's myelinated, it's got the capillaries it needs. It's the limbic system. It's the reptile part of our brain. The second floor is the neocortex. It's not ready for us. It's going to take many years before it's all well organized and able to inhabit. And it's also got 10 times more space. Think of 10 times more room to represent the world. Well, when you're using the bottom floor, as reptiles still do primarily, you're going to be, and primitive mammals, you're going to be relational thinkers. You're going to think, I'm the center of the cosmos. Everything's about me. Whatever I think, that's when I see an action in the world, it's because of what I thought or did. And obviously that's not very efficient because most of the time it doesn't mean anything. Let's say you're driving around. Occasionally relational thinking will be helpful. If let's say you're driving and you're going to turn left in front of another car, well, what you did, the person's going to have to relate to what you do. But if you're driving on the highway, you're all flowing together, what people are doing a block in front of you or a mile behind you doesn't make a difference. But if you start hearing honking and so forth, it may be useful, but if you had a dog in your car with you, you may start honking back thinking it's about them, and it's not most of the time. So it's a waste of energy. So we go from relational thinking, that's when the limbic system's dominating, to object thinking, where we realize things are independent of us. And we want to find a balance point because we do alter the world around us, and that's relational, but a lot of things still independent. So we want to find that balance point and let the neocortex dominate. Take advantage of all the cells that we have. Okay, and we can see this in the Theta Unity measure by a measure of functional transparency called Theta Unity. When we see orange, it means that the limbic system's dominating. When we see blue, the neocortex is really blocking too much of that relational thinking, and green is this healthy balance point. Okay, so you can see the DNT, you got this orange singulets, and that is a sign of letting the reptile control one's emotional regulation. We have seen this actually as a psychotic risk marker. It can associate with depression and anxiety. Typically, the person's perspective is too strong, so they don't let things in that they're not expecting. So I like to say, like, reward will knock at your door, but you'll say, go away because I wasn't expecting you now. But we got it more balanced here. Maybe a couple more sessions to really one more session to improve there. Now, we usually like seeing the orange singlets because we know we can get rid of it very quickly. And most individuals, 8 sessions, 10 sessions, and they can feel the change. Also, we got some stress markers here. You can see the left is using the verbal and physical stress marker. The right is the social and emotional one, and that one's really resolved. And now sometimes it's not a stress marker. The left ought also because you're very strong with language, but it is a stress marker if it's a case that we have to interpret it, figure it out from the person. Why are you putting more of your mental effort? The thing of blue is where you put your mental effort. Orange is where you let the instinct run through. Why are you putting all your mental effort in the verbal side? Is it because you're having to respond to some kind of challenge that's overwhelming? I had that marker when I went to UCLA at age 28. I thought I knew all the world, and they hit me with a fire hose of verbal information. I was overusing that area, trying to process it. Dorsolateral, both orange. The left side usually deals with ambition. The right deals with like social decisions. And the one thing is, it isn't that you need to be relational. When we normalize you, it isn't going to get rid of your relational thing all the time. We're going to make you more flexible. You're going to learn how to turn it on and off. I like to use the analogy of going to the airport. You're taking a highway. One day someone tells you side streets. It takes you half the time. From now on, you're going to do the side street when you need to. So the orange, unfortunately, you'd always be taking the highway, always taking the inefficient route. Green means occasionally, if you have to go by the highway for some reason, you'll take it. Most of the time, you're going to do the efficient route. Okay, let's look at the back of the head. So we worry about posterior cingulus being orange because that's a marker for PTSD, sometimes developmental trauma. Also can be associated with addiction. It's close, pretty normalized here, a little bit yellow, but mostly normalized. The 17s, this is a visual processing. Usually that can be, one thing about yellow, sometimes it can be a strength in one's profession, but not your personal life. Because if the reason why it's going to be a strength in your profession, you're still relating very primitively to the information served by those areas. And someone who has a very strong visual aesthetic may show 18 and 17s, that's the beginning of your visual pathway, may show yellow there, but they're sometimes going to overreact to things. And that's where it gets in trouble with their personal life. But you can see 18's got it all nice and normalized. 20, that's usually a memory retrieval, long-term memory retrieval, and when it's orange, it's going to be inefficient. And sometimes it's trust and suspicion issues there. But a lot of that's got normalized there. Here's the middle of the head. You can see up here what we're talking about, these regions. Area 32 deals with what I call mind reading, trying to figure out what other people are thinking. It's understanding the differences of others, contextual rules. You can see completely normalized there, beautiful. This is recruitability, area 5, personal boundaries, how recruitable you are. Sometimes it's associated with aggression, sometimes aggression inwards, which is depression and even self-harm. And you can see that's gotten normalized. Still got that auditory, and this is part of the auditory system. That's 22, that's right next to the auditory area, primary auditory, primary and secondary. But a lot of green going in there now, very nice, very balanced. Now, front of the head, everything's good except that, see that orange area, there is that regression. Let me address that aggression first. That typically we see as it's an anxiety marker. That's the left amygdala is being governed by the temporal pole and some of the orbital frontal areas. And when it's orange, it's not being governed well, and that sometimes can be the fear amygdala kicking in. It can be a marker of general anxiety. It's where we make the distinction between self and other. I like to say, and we can dissolve it. We didn't know about it until we did. The reason why we do these maps is to see where to put the remaining sessions, where to dedicate the remaining sessions to what systems, what brain areas. Look at this. This is actually adults. This is six individuals. Most adults are showing this marker who are recorded during COVID. We don't see it that prominent. We see it in maybe a quarter of the people because we have a lot of anxiety cases, but like we're getting in about 3/4 now. The kids aren't showing it, but the adults are showing it when we do a brain map during this period. You see it's just showing up, even when everything else is normal. Everything's been improved. This is a post map on an individual. I think this is a post and this is a post still, but I think it shouldn't really be a post. We should call it near post or mid because we still need to do some more sessions. And this is where we'll do a few more on 38L. We usually work the network. We work 38 in together, right and left, and focus most of the time, trying to normalize that. Other things got better. ACC is a yellow. That's where you monitor consequences, also where you register pain. That's gotten a lot better. This is governing appetite, social decisions, much more balanced now. No longer taking the highways, taking the shortcuts, these healthy side streets, with healthy habits, I should say. Still got this little loner marker. We can work on that. And again, some of it, and then there's also an organizational marker, and that's what we do is we go through, and even though it says post, we can continue and dedicate some more sessions to help normalize the areas that aren't finalized. But you can see the remarkable improvement. And imagine, these are basic habits that have now changed. And think of the orange. I like to use the fire hydrant model where you've cut open a fire hydrant and let the water gush out, like energy gushing out of these areas. These can lead to catastrophic events, destroy relationships because you overreact to stuff. You get it, or not even destroy your own goals because when you're letting the subcortex through your goal-directed thought is not being dominant. You're letting the environment. It's like picking up a hitchhiker and letting them drive the car. It's like letting the environment drive the car when you have orange. And that's just going to waste energy, because you're going to need more energy to get to your goals. So look at that improvement. That's very nice. And just got to do some more to give it that COVID marker. All right. Thank you very much.